Hello, this is Robert Parker. This is my presentation on who is the Antichrist in relation to other scriptural names. And here are the names, and we're going to be identifying, I'm going to propose who the Antichrist is in relation to all these other names. And I'm proposing that this upper A Antichrist is one and unique end times Antichrist is proposed as being Satan, who indwells within the man of lawlessness. And then I'm saying that this is only from this Antichrist, upper A Antichrist, only exists when both beings are present on earth, okay? And both beings are only present on earth from the middle of the 70th week until the Revelation 19 verses 19 and 20, which is where the beast, who I'm saying that the beast is the man of lawlessness, that's where the beast and the false prophet are captured and basically described as thrown into Hades. Okay, Satan, who is a spiritual being and a man considered an Antichrist. When Satan is thrown to the earth at the midpoint, it appears he indwells within the man of lawlessness. The Antichrist, this upper A Antichrist, can only exist on earth until, like I said, until the sixth bowl, the Armageddon battle. Okay, and that's the Revelation 19 verses 19 and 20, where the beast and the false prophet are captured as a consequence of the Armageddon battle. And these are the slides we're going through. The proposed scripture chronological parallels help to support the perspective that the dragon, who is Satan, is thrown out of heaven at the middle of the 70th week of Daniel. And this is what I'm talking about. This is these are the scriptures I'm proposing, which are parallel. And this is as time expires as it goes down, these row by row. And we see these parallels here. We see Israel pursued by the dragon here, which is, when those who are on the rooftop, it says, do not go in, and to flee, for those in Judea to flee to the mountains, right? And this is where they're described as in Revelation 12, and these verses here, where it's the woman who is Israel is pursued by the dragon, but we know that here in Revelation 12 that the woman is protected and nourished for a times and half a time. That's 3.5 years, talking about the second half of the 70th week of Daniel. And then in this last verse, it says the dragon makes war on the woman's offspring. Of course, that's the church. And we see that parallel here with the great tribulation of the elect. Okay, and where Israel is being pursued by the dragon here, of course, this is the Jacob's trouble here. Again, this all occurs at least initiates at the abomination of desolation here in verse 15. It says, as described with the prophet Daniel. Of course, that's referencing Daniel 9:27, which timestamps this to the midpoint of the 70th week of Daniel. We would anticipate this to occur when this man of lawlessness, this beast, takes his seat in the temple. And I'm saying that also that this would also be occurring as a consequence when Satan is thrown out of heaven. Okay. There are two types of Antichrist. One is general, lowercase Antichrist, and one is specific, which is the upper A Antichrist. And we see that described here in 1 John. Okay. Yeah, in general, is and a lower A Antichrist is anyone who denies the Father and the Son. Okay. and there's been many throughout history. Okay? But there's only going to be one end times eschatological upper A Antichrist. Okay, so we need to find out who this upper A Antichrist is. And I'm proposing it's plural. I'm saying there's two beings. It's both the beast, who is the man of lawlessness, likely born, as we would anticipate, born on the earth, and Satan, who is thrown out of heaven at the midpoint. Okay. Since many antichrists have existed, we must then distinguish them from this singular upper A Antichrist. Many scholars say this upper A Antichrist comes into existence with the prophet Daniel's little horn, which is just before the start of the 70th week of Daniel. In fact, they reference to Daniel 9:27 when it says that he, which is referencing the prince, when the prince is adds strength to the covenant, they're saying that is the upper A Antichrist. Again, I'm disagreeing. I'm proposing that is the lower A Antichrist, or man of lawlessness. Again, the upper A Antichrist does not exist until both beings, the beast and Satan, exist on earth. Again, Satan, of course, the man of lawlessness, we would anticipate have been born many years before the start of the 70th week of Daniel, but Satan is not thrown out of heaven until the midpoint. Okay, so he would be the second being, and then the two become the plural become one. I propose the little horn is initially considered an Antichrist, though not the Antichrist, like I said, until Satan indwells within him when he is thrown out of heaven at the midpoint. As a man, we would anticipate this man of lawlessness would have been born many years before the start of the 70th week of Daniel. The little horn is referenced in Daniel 7:8. As a horn, he is considered to have a kingdom. Later in Daniel 9:27, he makes a covenant with many many countries, which starts the prophetic 70th week of Daniel. This author interprets this little horn may give away his kingdom or before the first open seal, though still has secretive control. In order to mitigate himself being revealed until the midpoint with the abomination of desolation. That's, with the Matthew 24, his verses 15 and 16 there. So so those who have wisdom will be able to identify the beast before the midpoint of the abomination of desolation using the number 666. Okay, so it's not going to be easy. I mean, you have to have, Scripture says you have to have wisdom to identify this beast. Okay, so that's what leads me to say that many scholars say, well, the reference to Daniel 9:27, it says that their interpretation is that this prince, this Antichrist, initiates, which doesn't make any sense, because if he initiates it and he's got the lead role, then, that doesn't require any wisdom. To identify, that would be fairly obvious. And again, that's why I'm saying that I think it's unlikely from that perspective that, again, the Daniel 9:27 scripture should be looked at more generic, as I proposed in my first book, Beyond Pre-Wrath End Time Prophecy. The prince could be. There are many ways to add support to a covenant. He could be providing financial support. He could be providing a UN peacekeeping force or something to kind of keep the peace during these 7 years. Let's go. All right, in Second Thess, the day of the Lord is proposed to be in reference to the midpoint, the pre-wrap view. It's a good view. I held to it until a few years ago, but the view makes no sense to say this day of the Lord is associated with the elect rapture, since that same day of the Lord, must occur after the elect rapture. The Apostle Paul never said that they would not enter that day of the Lord before the rapture. And I have another presentation which dives into this thought alone. Okay. Yeah, and this is reference to the Second Thess. It says that two things must happen before this day of the Lord will come. And I'm saying this is the first day of the Lord. I mean, if you're pre-trib, you're saying that the rapture is before the beginning of the 70th week, but I'm saying that this first eschatological day of the Lord is not a rapture event, okay? Because, and I think I have a slide on that. That's in reference to Jesus will return in the same way that he left, and he left from Bethany, and on that same day he originated out of Jerusalem, and that ties into Zechariah 14 with that. All right, let's keep going. Oh, here it is. This is the slide. This shows the Zechariah 14, and so I'm talking about Jesus to return the same way that he left. I mean, not many scholars focus on this. This is very important. This is that, and we know that from here in Luke is that it says that Jesus originated out of Jerusalem, made his way to Bethany, and it was there in Bethany that he ascended into heaven. And what's on the way from Bethany to Jerusalem when he returns? Okay, I'm saying that's in the same way. It's the Mount of Olives. Okay. This distance is only 2 miles, and this distance is like 1.3 from Bethany to Mount of Olives. Okay, if you connect all the dots, flee, those in Judea to flee to the mountains. Here it says those in Judea to flee to the valley of my mountains. Nowhere else in Scripture where you'll see this extremely tight fit. Again, this is only 1.3 miles or so, extremely close. And this, you read these scriptures. This is, of course, one verse later, abomination, desolation, referencing the prophet Daniel. This is referencing the midpoint here with the abomination, desolation. And then you see this reference to the day of the Lord in verse 1. In verse 5, it talks about a battle with, so this indicates that the first, this is proposing this is there for you. This is what we're after here. This is a prize, if you will. This is, I don't know why scholars haven't seen this connection, but this is the first eschatological day of the Lord. Again, the pre-wrath. They look at the poured bowls and the trumpets. The trumpet and the trumpet judgments. Both of those judgments as being a generic day of the Lord. I'm saying no, that this in itself right here points to that there is at the midpoint an eschatological day of the Lord. It's likely only a day. I mean, look at the scriptures, probably a day or half a day. I'll call it a half a day. It's only part of a day, okay? As you go through here, it talks about at evening there's light. Okay, so you can do sacrifices in the afternoon. Okay, you can't do them in the morning because it's like dark in the morning. Okay, so this scratches off a half a day there, on in reference to the I think it's the Daniel 8:13-14. I have another presentation on that. Let's keep going. Son of destruction is also referenced earlier in the New Testament and here in John as representative of Judas. Who betrayed Jesus. We know Jesus hung himself. A son of destruction is also in Second Thess here. Both of these seem to be representative of the Revelation 17 scripture. As for the beast, that was and is not. Some about Judas Iscariot I'm proposing. It is an eighth. I'm talking about this eighth is the man of lawlessness, but it belongs to the seven, and it goes to destruction. Okay, of course it goes to destruction. That's talking about Revelation 19, verses 19 and 20. That's where the false prophet and the beast are captured, and basically what is described as thrown into Hades. Okay. And let's see, the seven is in reference to the seven empires or heads. We know, I think all scholars will agree with the first four. I guess there's some disagreement with how the other three are mapped out. Just as Satan was able to enter Judas, as we know, he's the son of destruction. Well, this is in Scripture, called a man of lawlessness there. It's therefore possible for Satan to enter this man of lawlessness. Okay. Therefore, the beast is proposed to be the man of lawlessness. He is an Antichrist all the way up to the midpoint, until when Satan indwells within him. Okay. And here we see the reference to Judas Iscariot being one of the sons of destruction, and we see this future eschatological son of destruction, referenced in 2 Thess, is described as being the man of lawlessness. Okay. Satan in Revelation 12 is thrown from heaven to earth. The beast of Revelation 17:2 comes from the bottomless pit to earth. Okay, so this talking about two different beings. Okay, one comes from heaven, makes his way to earth, or thrown to earth, and this other comes from the bottomless pit to earth. Because two different entities are being discussed. They're coming from different directions to earth, where I'm proposing they will be united. Satan will indwell within the man of lawlessness at that midpoint. Okay. All right. The beast rises out of the sea in Revelation 13:1. Most scholars, if not all, have this as the Antichrist. This is the upper A Antichrist. I disagree. I'm sorry, I do agree. Note in Revelation 13:4, the dragon, which is one entity, gave his authority to the beast, which is a different entity. It's describing two different entities in Revelation 13:4. So within the beast of the sea, two beings are being discussed. Like I said, most scholars interpret this Revelation 13:4 beast as the beast rising out of the earth, which is in later verses here. Okay, I disagree. Scripture did not specifically say it was referencing this second beast. Second beast of the Revelation 13:11. Okay. Consider Revelation 13:12 did explicitly say it was referencing the first beast versus just a beast. Okay, so Scripture is being very explicit here, and I'll show you the Scripture in the next slide. It was extreme. Let's just go there. Okay. Here's Revelation 13:13, and we see it explicitly says first beast. Okay, it doesn't just say it gave its authority of the beast. It says it's extremely explicit. Okay, but if you look up here in verse 4, same chapter 13, it just says it gave its authority to the beast. Okay, it doesn't say it gave its authority, if you will, to the second beast. So two different entities are being discussed here as this beast of the sea. One is a dragon, and the other is a beast. Okay, we have to separate this beast here from the beast of the sea, and the beast of the earth. Okay, there are three different things that entities are being discussed here. Okay, let's keep going. The beast that rises out of the sea, here in Revelation 11 and 13:1, I'm proposing this is the upper Antichrist, as all scholars say. And the great dragon, Revelation 12:3, are both described as having 10 horns and 7 heads. How can two different named entities both be described as having 10 horns and 7 heads? The only reasonable solution is that they must be somewhat or else 100, somewhat or else 100% have commonality among these prophetic beings. I propose there is only some commonality. This is because of needing to resolve the two entities. We just went through this, the dragon and the beast. Again, it says beast. It doesn't say, it's not referencing the second beast here. It's not explicit as in later Revelation 13, when it refers to the first beast. Okay. And here are the scriptures here in reference to the 10 horns and the 7 heads. This is reference to the beast, and this is referencing the great red dragon. Of course, that's Satan. Okay. Reference to the horns, of course, that's just the kings or kingdoms. Okay. The beast of the earth is a false prophet as described by its attributes of Revelation 13. Most, if not all, scholars support this understanding. And I listed 3 of the attributes in these verses. Performs great signs, deceives those on earth, and it was allowed to give breath to the image of the beast. Okay. Let's keep going. The troops moving to the battlefield of Revelation 16 and the 6th seal seem to match the later battle in Revelation 19. Okay. And here it says, it explicitly says, it's the 6th angel poured out his bowl, dried up the Euphrates, making way for the kings from the east. Okay, and then here's a later verse in chapter 19, 3 chapters later. Okay. Yeah, here's a reference to the, to the dragon, and the mouth of the dragon, the mouth of the beast, and the mouth of the false prophet. So there's 3 separate entities being discussed here. Revelation 16. Here in Revelation 19:20, we see it's a reference to the beast. Again, I'm saying that this is the man of lawlessness, and it's the false prophet. Okay, and this is where the 2 were thrown alive into the lake of fire that burns with sulfur and and then the third being, which is the dragon, in Revelation 20 verse 2, of course it says that this being, the dragon, is seized and that he's bound for 1,000 years. So he's going to be released just before the millennium ends, when Jesus reigns on earth with the rod of iron. Okay, and this shows an overview of this. Again, 3 beings. I'm having proposed. There's the beast, the Satan, and the false prophet. Okay. So, of course, the second beast, like I said, this is a false prophet. All scholars will agree with everything in this column. They'll agree with this here. And this right here is sort of like putting this puzzle together. It's the only fit that makes sense. Of course, this is the beast that rises from the sea. Again, this is the one that rises out of the earth. And we know in verse 4, this is very important. It references the dragon and the beast. It doesn't say the second beast. as later in this Revelation 13, I think it's around verse 12, this references the first beast right here around verse 12, but his explicit just says beast. So I'm saying it explicitly saying there's two entities here that make up this beast that rises from the sea. Again, we see it has 10 horns and 7 heads, and we know that this is in reference also in Revelation 12:3, where Satan, who has the 10 horns and the 7 heads. So it's so we see how this matches in, and that the second Thaz reference is to a son of destruction, which is a man. So you see that the only reasonable interpretation is, of course, dragon is Satan. Okay, so this part here falls in here. So therefore, the puzzle fits very strongly that this beast has to be referring to this son of destruction here. This as being this man. So again, so this being this first beast that rises from the sea does not exist until both the dragon and the beast are on earth. Again, the dragon does not arrive on earth until he's thrown out of heaven at the midpoint I'm proposing. Although the beast is certainly, we would anticipate this man to have been born on the earth, likely many years before the beginning of the 70th week of Daniel in 927. Okay. And again, this upper eight Antichrist will exist until one of these two beings does no longer exist. And of course, it's the beast who is captured here in Revelation 19. So when this beast is captured here in this sixth bowl, this is when this union disappears. This upper eight Antichrist no longer exists. And then it's later here, a few verses later, where Satan is bound. Okay, but conclusion, Satan is likely thrown out of heaven at the midpoint. This is when Satan, a spirit being, is proposed to enter the man of lawlessness and Antichrist. They together become the singular Antichrist. Become this plural, becomes this Antichrist. The two beings become the upper eight Antichrist. There are two entities of the beast of the sea, the dragon, who gave his authority to the beast. The previous chart shows how this understanding agrees with Revelation 16, 19, and 20. So, all right. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed it.